Kat, and today I'm going to share some tips on how to read more. So one question that I get a lot is, how do you read so much? How do you find the time to read so many books? And while I do read more than the average person, I don't think I read like an extreme amount, but I do have some tips on how to maximize your reading, so I thought I would share those with you guys. So my first tip is to prioritize reading, and it sounds a whole lot easier than it actually is. This is where willpower really comes into play. You know, instead of turning on the TV, you pick up your book and you read. Instead of going on Tumblr, you pick up your book and you read. Instead of going on YouTube, this is the one I'm the worst at, you pick up your book and you read. Basically, if you have a free moment, instead of reaching for the TV remote or your phone or your laptop, you reach for a book. And then you read the book. And again, this does sound a lot easier than it actually is in practice, but it's just something that you keep in mind and you be aware of. Maybe the next time you're mid-Netflix marathon and Netflix asks you if you want to continue watching, maybe you don't continue watching and you read a little bit instead, and then later you can continue watching because Netflix marathon. My next tip is to make reading a habit. Incorporate reading into your everyday routine. Schedule some reading time into your day and then just stick with it. Again, willpower, stick with it. Whether you're waking up early to read a little bit before work or school, or you go to bed a little bit early so you can read before you fall asleep. Personally, I can't do that early morning thing, so I try to read a little bit each night before I go to bed. Try taking the NaNoWriMo approach and read for 30 minutes or an hour each day, every single day for a month. Try to do that. It doesn't take a lot of time each day to really add up by the end of the month. My next tip is to always have a book with you. Maybe you have a very busy schedule and carving out an hour of time to read just seems very difficult. It doesn't have to be an hour straight through. Like, you can break that up into 5 and 10 minutes here and there, and always having a book with you makes this a whole lot easier to accomplish. You can read between classes, or on your lunch break, or before a doctor's appointment, or on the bus or in the car as you travel to places. Also, if you always have a book with you, then it's always there. It's always kind of on your mind as something you could be doing, and you're more likely to reach for it when it's just constantly following you around, except it's not really following you around because you're carrying it around, but you get what I'm saying. My next tip is to be reading multiple books at once. Now, this tip isn't for everyone because I know some people don't like juggling multiple books at once, but if you can, then this is great, especially if you're doing multiple books in different formats, which is something that I just started doing recently. Right now, I have a physical book going, which I leave by my bed and try to read a little bit each night. Then I have an ebook, which I'm actually reading on my phone, and that is the one that is always with me. Then I have an audiobook that I listen to when I'm driving or doing laundry or like rearranging my shelves or doing something where I can't be sitting down and looking at words. I can still be listening to words. Some days I might only make progress on one book, but there are days when I make progress on all of them. Having these different formats really helps, but it also helps just having options, and I can read whatever I'm most in the mood for. If you can handle reading multiple books at once, then I really encourage you to do so, because it helps. And my final tip here is to get excited to read. If reading feels like a chore, and if you're just not having fun reading, then it's going to be that much more difficult to motivate yourself to pick up a book and read. I always have so much more fun reading books that I'm excited to read and that I'm like dying to get my hands on, rather than reading books that I feel like I should read. Personally, I found that forcing yourself through a book you're not really feeling is a really great way to push yourself into a reading slump. If every time you think about reading, you kind of feel an aversion toward that, think for a minute if it's an aversion toward reading in general or just an aversion to reading what is next on your TBR or what you're currently reading. If you read something that you're excited for and that you're really enjoying, then it goes by so much faster and easier. And if it's not the reading material, but just your mood in general, then try to get yourself into a reading mood. And that might mean just taking a break from reading and going on Netflix or Tumblr or YouTube. You know, one thing that actually gets me really excited to read is watching booktube videos. Watching people get excited and passionate about books and reading makes me more excited and passionate about books and reading. Just do whatever you need to do to get excited to read again, whether that is taking a break from reading altogether or reading something different or just doing other stuff until you find yourself excited to read again. Alright, there you have it. Those are my tips on how to read more. And just as a parting note, I want to say that you shouldn't feel stressed or pressured to read because that's not gonna help you read more. That's just not fun. And it can be hard when you're comparing yourself to other people who seem like they read every book under the sun, but everyone is different and there's nothing wrong with the amount of books you read, whether it's 1 or 100. Read what makes you happy and read when you're able to read, and just don't get too stressed or down if you're not reading as much as you think you should be. There is no should, you know? There is no right amount. Whatever you're reading, that amount is the right amount. Anyways, that is it for this video today. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you have a great night, and I will have another video up soon. So I will see you then. Goodbye!